This means that the UK has voted to leave the European Union.
It was the result that changed everything. For better or worse, the EU referendum has shaken up UK politics like nothing else. And after countless protests, several failed votes, and a parliamentary prorogation, it all came down to this. The 2019 general election decided what would happen with the country's Brexit vote from 3 years ago, and both Labour and the Conservatives were desperate to win it. But what about the other voices who are trying to be heard in today's crowded political landscape? In the Midlands constituency of Broxtowe, 5 smaller candidates stood against the mainstream to see if they could shake up the traditional two-party system. Did they succeed, or were they drowned out amongst the noise? It's a rainy November day in the Nottinghamshire market town of Beeston, and campaigning has already begun here in earnest. Green Party candidate Kat Berger has just arrived to begin her day's mission, to try and convince the Saturday shoppers here that the Green Way is the path forward.
But it's just to be out here, to show what we're standing for, have a presence, and also show the voters that there is another party than just, the blue and the reds. And it's been quite interesting. People have been coming up, asking questions, even some specific with manifesto questions, which I think is fantastic, because it shows that people engaging with manifestos, engaging with politics, making an informed choice, which is what I think voting should be about.
Kat is a councillor in Waverley and has lived in Nottinghamshire since coming to the UK from Germany more than 20 years ago.
I grew up with Green Party politics. My mother was the first mayor of Germany, a female mayor in Germany, and the first Green mayor in Germany ever. She was mayor of Munich. So I grew up with this.
Despite the Brexit vote, her main issue is one that affects all smaller parties: electoral reform.
We've gotten the UK first past the post, which is a crap, unfair, undemocratic system. We need to start to change it. So every vote for the Green Party is a vote against the establishment. And people need that. More left-wing policies are more prominent with PR systems. Democratic you get, it's more right-wing you get. So even if 4 million voters voted for UKIP, yeah, that's 4 million voters. They're still allowed to have a say.
Kat is also close with the woman she hoped to beat in this election as a key Remain figure in the area. Anna Soubry was a Conservative from her election in 2010 until this year, when she left the party to form Change UK, a pro-Remain party determined to change how Brexit and politics is done in this country.
This system is not favouring.
Oh no, we both believe in proportional representation. See, I was always a fan of the first past the post, but that was when both the main political parties.
When you were part of the Tories.
No, but when they were both broad churches. And the fact I'm not shows that it's not a broad church. Because they've expelled people, and the Labour Party's in the grip of the extremes.
If you want to vote, a Remain vote, we are the best chance. I'm the best chance. I'm the strongest Remain candidate.
Your problem, as you know, is because I've been the MP, so I come up with.
I'm giving you that
only
one.
because only because I've never known such support for any campaign as this one. And she's fantastic. And if you look at my literature, I mean, I've got, obviously, Stan Heptonstall as Lib Dem has nominated me. Sir Martin Polyakov, who always votes Labour, he's supporting me. Former chairman of the Conservatives in Broxtowe, he's supporting me. So cross-party support. I've even got a Green voter who's supporting me. I'll send you. I'm sorry. I was going to get some lunch, but...
Kat and Anna were certainly confident of their chances, but really how realistic was the possibility of small party success in this election? Matthew McKeffy-Ashton, a politics and international relations professor at Nottingham Trent University, thought otherwise.
Whatsoever that he will deliver it. Anything could happen in British politics, but you'd need, again, a fairly unique set of circumstances. You need a situation where people were absolutely kind of disgusted and unhappy with the other parties, whether the parties had been in power for too long or had very unpopular leaders. You'd also have to have a situation where you had a sort of very charismatic, very photogenic leader who was offering something genuinely new. Whereupon with Change UK, is the fact that they weren't really selling anything massively different. They were against Brexit, but so were the Liberal Democrats. And they were made up of people, Anna Soubry and Chuck Umner, who lots of people from the left and right didn't like for various reasons. So there wasn't enough distinctiveness. They didn't really have a unique selling point that was going to sort of allow them to succeed. My gut instinct looking at that is probably it's going to go Conservative, just simply because it did vote Leave. Anna Soubry isn't particularly popular. The big question is, has she got enough name recognition that she could peel off enough Conservative voters to maybe make it more viable as a Labour target? I mean, personally, I don't think that's going to be the case. But again, we're in such uncharted waters at the moment that anything could happen.
Out on the front lines with their prospective MPs were the campaigners, the ordinary people who hoped to get the residents of Broxtowe to vote alternatively. But what about their particular parties and candidates got them so encouraged?
For me, she represents an MP who offers moderation, sanity and honesty, and I'm truly fed up with the duplicity of both the Tory party and the Labour Party. And so for me, the fight in Broxtowe is about getting a moderate MP in, so it was there was no doubt in my mind that supporting Anna is the way to do that.
I've been an environmentalist for many years before then, but not on a political level and not at a party political level. But when we moved house here, I thought it'd be a good chance to join a Green Party here, which was already active. Previously there wasn't one.
People at the top are generally careerist politicians. They don't really stand for what represents the people who are on the street and who ultimately are voting for them. So the smaller parties need as much support as possible from across the spectrum to make people realise that this system isn't good enough.
And I hereby declare that Darren George Henry has been duly elected to the Broxtowe constituency.
In the end, it was the Tories who took Broxtowe, in a night which saw the party sweep into traditional Labour heartlands. The Greens only retained their single seat in Brighton, whilst Anna's Change UK lost all three of theirs, including nearby Nottingham East, formerly held by ex-Labour Chris Leslie. Despite an optimistic start, the party dissolved a week later. After the release of the exit poll, but before the actual results in Broxtowe, Kat was more than happy to express both her disappointment and worry at the potential national result.
I think it's rather depressing, and we need to have a people's vote, and we need to fight climate change, and I feel that the Conservatives are not the right party to do either. So I find it really, really sad. What I think is interesting, I think it shows that the time for first past the post is over.
These results, mixed with the failure of the Lib Dems nationally, has spelt a bleak outlook for the smaller parties. But does a result like this really indicate that these voices failed in their plea to be heard? Mr McAfee-Ashton isn't so sure.
The Greens might not have been elected, but a lot of the ideas that were way outside the political mainstream 10, 15, 20 years ago are now really accepted by the major political parties. I mean, the fact that the Conservatives, before the election, just before it, announced that they were banning fracking. You know, all of the major parties are talking about investing in green issues. So, you know, the Green Party might not win or get into government or anything like that, but they have succeeded in changing the political agenda and, you know, getting this into the conversation, which you could regard as being just as important.
4 months later, it's all looking very different in the UK. Questions of Brexit and the now postponed local elections now seem trivial in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite this, Kat's been able to talk a bit about what might happen with the Greens in the future.
It's really, really difficult because we cancelled our conference, which would have been quite important in order to answer this question. I cannot answer locally. We want to target a certain ward or and then just campaign heavily in 1 or 2 wards there instead of everywhere.
Spreading.
We would be trying to stand in most wards or in all wards, but just focus campaigning on certain areas.
So, Despite the dismal results, the fight goes on to change the status quo. And while electoral success of these voices may be something still out of their grasp, in some ways, amidst all the shouting of modern era politics, they're still being heard from Broxtowe to Westminster.